Welcome back. It's Amanda Ridout with Health and Homeopathy, and we are here with our favorite pharmacist, Ben Fuchs. He's also cosmetic chemist and nutritionist and public speaker, author, radio show extraordinaire. How you doing, Ben?
Nice to see you. Thank you for that great introduction.
Hey, so today we have something special. Last time we had a video, I had mentioned that I had partnered with a thermography scan center here in the Dallas area, but we also do heavy metal testing. I wanted to sort of run through one of my scans, my heavy metal testing scan, and it also does a mineral test report. I've done scans on many people, and usually people have deficiencies in most of these minerals. I want to show this right here. I don't know if everybody can see it. Mine tend to run a little high, and I have few deficiencies, silicone and lithium. So, but it says here I'm high in zinc, and that high is wowza high. So
okay, so hang on. There's so many things. Let's unpack this.
Okay, let's do that. That's what I want to do.
You just address a whole bunch of stuff. First of all, I'm not all big on the detox thing. Okay. You know how you have, I prefer that the body stays strong and you reduce your exposure to toxicity. Nonetheless, there are certain things that you could do to improve the body's ability to clean itself out, but you don't have to really go out of your way as much as you have to enhance the already built-in healing and detoxification systems that are in the body. Right. Stay away from toxins, support your own body's ability to detox. A couple other things. You use the term heavy metal, right? Right. What does a heavy metal mean to you? That's true, by the way. That's part of the problem. But go ahead. As a layperson, there's no right answer or wrong answer. I just wonder, what does a layperson think when they think the term heavy metal? Okay, what we normally think is, oh, a heavy metal, it's a poison in my body. Okay, poison, bad. Yeah. All right. Well, then the term heavy metal is very misleading. Heavy metal refers to the fact that it's dense. Okay. You know, there's a periodic table. At the end of the periodic table, the minerals get more dense. So heavy metal is a dense metal, high density metal. But that doesn't really explain the problem with so-called heavy metals. So I prefer the term toxic metals. Okay. And now toxic metals, those can be problematic. The word heavy metal, it's a very vague description, doesn't really mean anything. Some, as you pointed out, there's a lot of heavy metals like cobalt, for example, and chromium, for example, zinc, for example, that are considered heavy metals, but they're also nutritional. So the heavy metals doesn't really tell you, it doesn't give you enough information. Toxic metals, on the other hand, that tells you something. Okay. But even then, you know, arsenic, for example, there's some biological use for arsenic. There's some biological use for fluoride. There's some biological use for even lead, some people believe. You know, I don't know of any biological use necessarily for mercury, but it may be that just our ability to detect these metals in the body, they're in such a small concentration. My hunch is we're going to find out over time, as our ability to detect these things in the body become more sophisticated, and we become more technologically skilled at it, we're going to find that mercury and lead and even cadmium probably have a certain biological function. They're in the earth. Plants live in the earth. Plants take the minerals out of the earth, and they make them as part of themselves. So whatever's in the earth is going to be in a plant, and you're going to end up ingesting it. Right. Now, the thing about a plant does some pretty remarkable things to a metal. It does some pretty remarkable things to a rock, if you will, to a mineral. Minerals are made up of metals. Rocks are made up of what we call metals. Metals are a type of atom on the periodic table. You know, we really don't know what a metal is, the average person. A metal is a very interesting agglomeration of a bunch of molecules that are all aligned in a perfect direction. Usually in a piece of matter, the molecules are strewn about. In a metal, the molecules are not just molecules, they're actually atoms, and they're lined up specifically. And this gives them incredible conductivity. It allows them to handle energy in a unique way. It allows them to handle light in a unique way. That's why they shine. That's why they're reflective. So metals are very, very interesting idea, an interesting concept, metals, and an interesting reality, I guess. When we understand the nature of what a metal is, then we can understand why they're so problematic and why they're also good for us. They're both problematic and they're good for us. In the wrong forms, in the wrong concentration, they're definitely problematic. In the right forms and in the right concentrations, they become highly nutritional. They activate chemical reactions. Vitamins are important for chemical reactions to happen, but metals spark the chemical reactions the same way they spark everything else. They conduct electrical energy. So they're incredibly important from a nutritional standpoint, but they also have an ability to be toxic. So the real key to dealing with heavy metals, or not heavy metals, with toxic metals, if you want to get them out of your system, is to improve your body's natural detoxification processes, and there's many. Now, I will say, there is something called chelation therapy. Have you ever heard of this thing called chelation therapy?
I have, and there's so many mixed reviews. It's great, it's not great.
There ain't no mixed reviews here, not to this pharmacist. They're amazing. It's amazing, chelation therapy.
You think it's amazing?
Amazing, okay. Amazing, powerful strategy. However, there's two, what you're referring to is the injectable, the IV chelation therapy. You go to a chiropractor and you have it intravenous, but you can also, and that's the stuff that's controversial. Okay. There's a lot of alternative healthcare practitioners that believe in it. I personally think it's an amazing, I've seen great results with it personally. So I'm a personal believer in chelation therapy. But there is the mainstream medical model, which we know is doesn't have a whole bunch of credibility, considering they're presiding over the greatest health disaster in the history of mankind, and and we have more doctors per capita than we ever had in any other culture. So I don't really give a lot of credence to the medical model, but the mainstream medical model, they say it's a quackery, but and that's what's controversy.
Quackery if it's not out of
if it's
their
approved.
Centers.
And, that's a whole other story we get into sometime. But chelation, I've seen wonderful things with chelation therapy. You can also do oral chelation therapy, so you don't necessarily need to go to the chiropractor and lay down in the in the treatment room and have a treatment done. You actually do it at home.
How do you do that?
Well, there's chelating nutrients. Chelation means to magnetically attract. Chelation is a claw. Chela is Latin for claw. Okay. And to chelate something is to magnetically attract it, to claw it, to pull it out. You've heard of chelated minerals, right? Yes. Obviously, right? That's a major form of minerals. When you chelate a mineral, you take a mineral and chelate it, magnetically stick something on it, you can change its properties and make it more or less nutritionally available. Chelated minerals tend to be more nutritionally available than ordinary rock minerals, although not as nutritionally available as plant-derived minerals. But you can use oral chelation. Vitamin C is one of the all-time great chelating agents. Vitamin C. So making sure you're getting enough vitamin C is a great way to chelate toxicity out of your blood. Of course, vitamin C has its own detoxification ability to detoxify the body, has its own detoxification properties, in addition to the fact that it's a chelation aid. High amounts of vitamin C are found in the liver, which is your primary detoxification organ. Sulfur is another great detoxifier, or chelator, I'm sorry. Also selenium is a great chelator. In fact, sulfur and selenium are found in high concentrations of fish. Yeah. And it turns out that the mercury that the fish are ingesting are actually chelated by the selenium and sulfur, which makes them less available to the body. So it's a way of keeping the selenium and sulfur from getting into the body. The mercury from getting into the body. The selenium and sulfur block the mercury from getting into the body. Okay. So selenium and sulfur are good. Onions, garlic are high in selenium and sulfur. These are all ways to foods that you can use to help chelate so-called toxic metals out of the body.
I've also heard our plant-derived minerals attract these heavy metals.
Absolutely. I was about to say clays and plant-derived minerals. Interestingly, plant-derived minerals and clays have a lot in common. Clays are also a very fascinating substance. Humic substances that are found in soil. It's hard to isolate where the mineral, when a plant manipulates the mineral, eventually it becomes part of the soil, and it's hard to isolate the plant from the soil unless you pull the plant out. While the plant's in the soil, there's this interaction between the minerals and the microorganisms and the plant, and so there's the soil bed has a very rich plant-derived mineral content. Supposedly, if it's a healthy soil, it'll have a lot of these plant-derived minerals, and these plant-derived minerals that are in the soil are very powerful chelating agents. In fact, clays and they call them humic acids, you may have heard that term, fulvic acids, All of these compounds that are found in soil have a really remarkable ability to neutralize and electrify minerals. Bottom line is clays are very interesting substances when it comes to minerals. They can trap minerals, and not just minerals. They can trap minerals, they can hold on to minerals.
Yep.
And the plant-derived minerals are, of course, derived from those clays and plants. So that's another interesting thing. Speaking of plants, algae and chlorophyll also have chelating properties. Spirulina has chelating properties. In fact, the Navy uses spirulina for radiation toxicity. Okay. Spirulina has an ability to chelate metals that have been irradiated and made toxic from radiation. So algae, chlorophyll, you can actually get liquid chlorophyll. That's a great chelating agent. You ever seen liquid chlorophyll?
Yeah.
You get that at
the store? We used to get that in Mexico. We used to drink it all the time.
And it makes you green. It makes you really, really green, right? It's good stuff, though. It's good for your breath. It's the reason it's good for your breath is because it's chelating zinc and it kills bacteria. Zinc. There's a very interesting relationship, by the way, between zinc and bacteria. Zinc is highly antibacterial. Okay. Highly antibacterial. And zinc deficiencies in animals can cause bad breath. Zinc deficiencies, especially in the mouth, can cause from dogs can cause bad breath. Probiotics, that's another one. Bacteria, good bacteria. And speaking of probiotics, keeping the intestine healthy. Heavy metals are dumped out in the bowels. They're dumped out in the stools. Okay. So making sure you're not constipated. Fiber, by the way, does double duty. Fiber improves the movement of heavy metal or toxic metals through the intestine, and fiber also has chelating properties.
So fiber does have chelating properties.
Yes, fiber has chelating properties. Bile is also important. Making sure, because heavy metals or toxic metals come out in the bile. So if you had a gallbladder missing, that's going to compromise you. If you have fat malabsorption issues, that can compromise you. There's a very interesting relationship between the liver, probiotics, and bile. The liver, of course, makes bile, but the liver also has detoxification enzymes in it too. So if you're dealing with liver disease, you're not only going to not make bile, but you're not going to make your detoxification chemicals. There's something called glutathione. Have you ever heard of this? Yep. Glutathione is it is nature's, the human body's natural heavy metal or toxic metal detoxifier. Okay. You can build your own glutathione by taking the raw materials for glutathione, and we all should be doing it. The raw materials for glutathione are 3 major amino acids. One's called glutamine. You probably heard of that. You can supplement with glutamine. You get it in whey protein. You get it in eggs. Most high-protein foods will have some glutamine in them, but you can also supplement with glutamine. There's another amino acid called cysteine. I love N-acetylcysteine. I know we've talked about N-acetylcysteine on this program a lot, or on these interviews a lot. N-acetylcysteine is a wonderful, amazing chelating agent. Amazing, absolutely amazing chelating agent. One of nature's best. It's part of the glutathione molecule, so it does double duty. Also, sulfur and selenium are important for helping activate glutathione, as we talked about earlier. That's one of the roles for sulfur and selenium. Moving your lymph is another very important strategy for helping detoxify, eliminate all toxins, as we talked about in our last video. The fucoid Z has chelating properties, so using the fucoid Z, that can be helpful. What else can I think of here?
Let me ask you this. On my mineral report, I do take a lot of selenium, and I'm in the high normal range, and all my minerals are pretty good, yet I still have a very high concentration of aluminum.
Minerals, we don't know what form of aluminum. Plant-derived aluminum is not necessarily a bad thing. Okay. There may be, like I say, in the earth, we have all the minerals. I don't know that aluminum on that test is not an aluminum that's showing up as a form of plant-derived aluminum. Where the aluminum is from, I don't know the answer to that. Okay. Because plant-derived aluminum, I wouldn't necessarily worry about it. In fact, I don't know if that heavy metals test that you have there, does that distinguish between plant-derived minerals that have been complex, that have formed a colloid. By the way, that's exactly what a colloidal mineral is. People have heard the term colloidal mineral. Mineral is a mineral that has been complexed with plant material through the magical machinery of plants. Nobody really knows how this happens. But plants have an ability to complex the mineral to form these colloidal minerals, so-called colloidal minerals. They used to call them colloidal, now they call them plant-derived minerals, but it's the same idea. The plant-derived minerals, the plants turn minerals into colloidal substances, and then we derive those minerals that have been left behind over hundreds of thousands and millions of years left behind, and they still retain that kind of colloidal nature. They still retain that magic, whatever has happened in the plant, which I'm sure 500 or 1,000 years from now we might be able to figure out. We sure don't know what they're doing right now, how they're doing it. That changes the nature of the aluminum. Yeah, so we don't know.
No, we don't know. And I don't think this distinguishes it.
That's why I say make your body strong.
Yeah.
You know, don't interact with the crap if you can avoid it. We all drinking polluted water, and we're inhaling polluted air. You know, there's a certain amount of toxicity we're just going to deal with in the year being alive in the year 2018, and that's going to up your risks for cancer and diseases. And that's just the nature of the beast. But what you can do is you can avoid excessive interaction with these things. Don't smoke. Eat organic. You know, make sure you're supplementing, make sure you're doing all the things we talked about, make sure you're not sedentary, make sure you're moving your lymph, make sure you're practicing deep breathing. It really all boils down to that. Get stronger and better and live a wonderful life by doing all the things we talk about here, regardless of the toxicity. And the things that we're talking about here, Amanda, are not just for toxic metals. They're for lupus, they're for acne, they're for heart disease, they're for living a longer life. And they don't just involve moving your body around, taking sulfur and selenium and vitamin C. It also involves mental and emotional strategies, you know, making sure you're not freaking out, making sure that you're feeling peace and love and great gratitude and contentment, and being spiritually connected, whatever that is for you, having some sort of sense of higher power, that you're part of something bigger, which really is the truth of the matter. We are part of something bigger. This struck me when there was this Chernobyl. It was not Chernobyl. It was Fukushima.
Okay.
Right? The Fukushima explosion. All of a sudden, everybody wanted potassium iodide. Everybody was freaked out, right? But I noticed that the lines at McDonald's were no shorter. You know? They were just as long. But everybody wanted their potassium. Everybody was potassium iodide, right? You know, and it's kind of, that's the way we think. We think in these fashions and fads, and it's not like that. Make the body strong.
Absolutely.
You know, out with the old, out with the bad, in with the good. Out with the bad, in with the good. Simple as that. And that's true mentally, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically. Out with the bad, in with the good.
I mean, like that plan. I like it. Yes, absolutely. And that's very much what we've been doing throughout all our videos. It's pretty much what, you know, Dr. Wallach teaches, and I think it's just wise, and it's the way to go, and that's how I've been working with people. It's like, let's remove the bad things, let's put in whatever your body needs, and if you have symptoms in certain areas, we're going to address those symptoms with whatever nutrition or homeopathy you need.
It's the pharmacomedical model to address the symptom without addressing the system. But that's like addressing the leaf without addressing the root. Right. By the time you see the system or the symptom, by the time you see the leaf, that cow has left the barn. Yeah. It's over. What you got to do is you got to work for the tomorrow's symptom or the new leaf. And that takes place at the level of the trunk and the root. And, you know, it's not a difficult concept, but we're up against a financial and economic model that preaches the exact opposite. It tells people the exact opposite. And because of the finance, the economics, because of the economics that are involved in it, and there's trillions of dollars in economics, probably more, that are involved in it, we get messaged in this reinforced way over and over and over again, from birth to death, you know, for generation to generation to generation, that the way you deal with these things is you deal with them at the symptom level. There's all these mechanisms that are so obvious that we have an ability to take care of our own business. Our body does. Right. Keep the system as clean as you can. Make sure you're breathing. That's really basically it. Oxygen, you know, some basic nutrients, the mighty 90, and some glucose, and, you know, protein, and then a clean place to do its business, you know, especially from sugar.
Absolutely.
And that, by the way, sugar will shut down the body's defenses faster than anything from a physiologic standpoint.
And there could be the problem right there. Sugar's everywhere, and we're eating loads and loads of sugar, not just in a year, but in a day.
A huge problem. And I'm not preaching to anybody on this one. You know, I am subject to the surges of dopamine and neurochemistry that are associated with pleasure that we get from sugar. You know, we, as much as anybody, we get a certain brain chemical pleasure hormone hit when we do sugar, and that's hard to hard to bypass. It's hardwired into our brains. And to make matters worse, we have a ready availability of all of this beautiful pleasure-inducing chemistry.
It's wonderful.
Everywhere you turn, you can't avoid it. Are we going to say no? How are you going to say no to that? You know, you have this boom, this hit of dopamine. You're like, whoa! It's subtle now because we've done it so many times, but it's so pleasurable from a biochemical standpoint, and our body is designed to do that. So it's very difficult to wean yourself off of it, but you know, there's a price to be paid because the body isn't supposed to have all that pleasure all that time. And by the way, all that pleasure gets dumbed down after a while, and it takes more and more of that biochemical hit to get that pleasure.
Let's recap here in a few sentences because everybody's hearing the heavy metal toxicity. So
there's no such thing as heavy metal. Recap, first of all. There's no such thing, really. I mean, there's dense metals, but that's not what people are talking about when they talk about heavy metals. They're usually referring to
toxic metals.
Toxic metals. And whether the line between how toxic something is and how nutritional it is very blurry. If you want to get rid of these kinds of metals, and most of the metals that are toxic metals are metals that are industrial waste metals.
Right.
That are part of how we function industrially. Pesticides and fertilizers. These are substances that are in our environment from an industrial standpoint, byproducts of metal processing and big factories.
And I think that's what people are scared about or worried about.
That's the kind of metal. So when you read aluminum on your Beyond Tangerine, that's not the kind of metals that they're talking about. They're toxic. Exactly. Those are plant minerals. Those are completely different. So if you want to get rid of metals or you want to clean your system out, chelation is the way to go. You can do oral, you can do IV chelation in a chiropractor, naturopath, or physician's office. I do recommend those. I think they're great. There's oral chelation with sulfur, selenium, vitamin C, algae, chlorophyll. The good minerals have chelating properties. Fulvic acids and humic acids have chelating properties.
What about infrared saunas? Infrared saunas and foot ionizers.
You know, in good what?
The foot bath, ionizing foot baths.
I've seen all kinds of stuff come out through the feet. I don't know what that stuff is. Have you seen those baths?
Yes, they turn colors and they
but I don't
things
know.
Floating in them, black and green.
I want to see the science on that. I want to see the science on how that's working. Personally, I don't know that metals are going to really come out through they're fatty. They come out in the bile. They come out in the fatty system. They're stored in fat. So I don't know necessarily that a far infrared sauna is going to help for those, but far infrared saunas are great. Absolutely.
I think they help start removing.
Maybe the lymph. They might improve lymphatic drainage. Yeah. Infrared saunas. That through doing that, lymph is definitely a function. Lymph definitely plays a role in the elimination of heavy metals. That's why I say moving the body can be very important. Also, deep breathing, slow deep breathing to move the lymph. So the lymphatic congestion is behind pretty much all chronic degenerative diseases. The lymph is part of the blood. It runs parallel to the blood. It's basically the same system, the lymphatic system and the blood system. And I've often said that all disease is cell disease, and behind cell disease you will always find dirty blood. And dirty blood is congested blood. And like the blood can get congested, especially with sugar, the lymph can get congested. And so you might as well say all disease is dirty circulatory fluids, because dirty lymph is behind that as well. You know, you have lymphatic, especially when it comes to cancer. You know, there's lymphatic cancers are a major form of cancer, lymphomas, and also breast cancer and cancer in the reproductive areas. These are high concentrations of lymph in these areas. So lymphatic congestion is really a disaster for a lot of things. And it's unfortunate because one of the best ways to make sure that doesn't happen is by moving your body, which is very simple to do. There's no drugs that can help you with lymphatic congestion. There's nothing the doctor can do for you for lymphatic congestion. But you can jump up and down on a rebounder, 10 minutes at home.
Absolutely.
That's an amazing health strategy. Fiber, keeping your bowels moving, bile, the ultimate enzymes, if you want products, that's bile in a bottle, basically. Lecithin granules, that can help you build bile. By the way, bile is a form of the body's most important molecule. What do you think that would be?
Don't ask me.
Cholesterol.
Okay.
So bile is a form of cholesterol. It's a tweaked version of cholesterol. So making sure you're eating your eggs. But your body will make cholesterol, but make sure you're not on a statin drug. If you're on a statin drug, you're going to be making less. You're going to be making less bile because statin drugs suppress cholesterol production. There's going to be less. Your bile production will be less efficient, and you'll be less likely to pass through toxins. By the way, bile can become saturated. Yes. And the more toxins you have in your system, the more saturated your bile becomes. Okay. Prescription drugs can saturate the bile. Food toxicity can saturate the bile. Food allergens can saturate the bile. There's crosstalk between probiotics and the liver, so that your bile functioning is more effective and more productive when you have good intestinal health, when you have a good microbiome. Yeah. So making sure you're taking your nightly essence, making sure that you're staying away from food toxicity and food allergens. Apple cider vinegar with meals. You said you have lupus. I tell you the same stuff. Right. That simplifies everything. While this may sound like a lot of stuff to do, it's what you have to do for everything, just to live a good life. Okay.
So here's this. I just learned this from a clip I found on Dr. Wallach somewhere. You need lead so that RNA can replicate.
Lead, I can see that. I know lead. Didn't know that specifically, but is that in Rare Earths Forbidden Cures?
It was on a video somewhere. And then cadmium is needed when zinc is low. It kicks in and does the job of zinc.
Does Doc say that? Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. I know there's a very important relationship between cadmium and zinc. Yeah. And the more cadmium you're doing, the harder it's going to be for zinc to bind. That's an interesting thing about minerals is the bad minerals will push out, the good minerals will push out the bad minerals. And under deficiency conditions, your body will take in the bad minerals. Yeah. So
and the minerals that are bad in high doses, in very small doses, are necessary for, even just the replication of RNA.
There's a lot of literature that talks about things that you would think of that, you heard all the time, how toxic arsenic is, or fluoride, or lead, but there are biological functions for these things in small amounts. And that's the amounts that you get in plants, by the way. The plant-derived minerals contain those small amounts. And it's not just the mineral, it's the form of the mineral. Right. So zinc is not the same as colloidal plant-derived zinc. Right. Zinc is, aluminum is not the same as metal aluminum. Metallic aluminum is not the same as plant-derived colloidal aluminum.
Okay, and one other thing I heard from Dr. Wallach is if you have too high cadmium, you want to intake calcium because that will help carry it out. And selenium will help.
Also, lead and calcium relate that way as well.
Yeah, so and selenium pushes out mercury.
Say again?
Selenium will push out mercury.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yes.
Okay, wow, interesting stuff. Man, we can just go on, but there's just so much information here. So, okay, we will wrap up this video, and thank you for your input.
Thank you.
We're going to I'm going to put some information below of certain minerals and the Mighty 90 and things that people can do to help clear their bodies from these toxic metals and toxins. Just overall toxins.
Overall detoxification.
Yeah.
Help the body detoxify itself.
Absolutely. That's the thing. Help the body detoxify itself. Well, thank you, Ben, so much for everything. And until next time, you have a wonderful, wonderful time.
You too.
Okay, bye.
Bye, Amanda.